How is it going, you lovely lot? I'm Jack, and welcome to a brand new YouTube channel of mine. For those of you that don't know me, I play Football Manager, and I have done for many years at this point, in fact over 20 years. A few months ago though, I got into MFL, and this is a second channel alongside my main WorkTheSpace channel, where I'm going to just kind of share my passion and enjoyment for this game, because it's a game that I'm now going into my third full season of playing. Really excited for the upcoming things, and the plan in terms of content this season is simply to kind of shoot the shit with you guys every kind of start of the week. So starting this week, ahead of the new season, I thought I'd sit down, talk a little bit about my agency, my current teams, my best players, what I'm expecting from this upcoming season, as we do of course head into season number 7 of MFL. First thing to acknowledge, I have too many teams. I told myself last season in MFL 7 teams was where I was drawing the line. I've somehow ended up signing up 2 more teams to play in Spark for the coming year. But yes, in terms of my teams, just a little overview of my agency, I've got 2 bronze teams for season number 7. One of these was recently purchased in Seoul, South Korea. This was actually a team that was promoted down from silver last year that we picked up. Definitely overpaid for it, but I have a theme with my agency of basically building up Asian teams, and you'll note now that my 3 kind of largest and furthest up the pyramid teams play in Seoul, Tokyo and Beijing. And maybe no one else cares about those kind of little details. For me, that means a lot. The team that I definitely have my main focus on, though, is my Tokyo 2 MFC team. This is a team that I'm now going into my 3rd season managing. Last year, unfortunately, the year ended in heartbreak. Pretty gutting, obviously, to just not be able to get that final win, especially having won 2 in a row. But to be honest, squad fitness was an issue, and I just didn't really have the quality on the pitch. But in terms of last season on the whole, I was pretty happy with things. The team ended up finishing 3rd in the Bronze League 13, and to be honest, we were in a really good spot until the end of the season where, as you can see here, we kind of capitulated. 1 win in the final 5. The win actually, a win against the team who ended up winning the division. My team, only 4 defeats in 22 games, but sadly, the 6 draws did cost us. Kind of kicking myself as well that on the final day, as Newcastle could only draw, we could also only draw, because had we won that game, we would have finished 2nd and obviously had a straight shootout for a promotion spot to silver. Looking this year to go a step further. Now, as far as bronze squads go, undoubtedly this is a fairly stacked team, although the bronze league that I'm in is reasonably competitive. I think in terms of projections, we are projected to win the league. Last year, we were predicted to finish 2nd. I do always feel like, in terms of in MFL, the projections don't necessarily kind of give you the full picture. There's certain stats that I think matter more for players. I think pace is pretty prevalent. I think passing in the current match engine, I'll be honest, I don't think it's all kind of the be-all or end-all. But nevertheless, this is a team that should be competing towards the top, and this year there is one big addition to the team, and that player I've picked up is the most expensive purchase I've ever made in MFL. You guys can judge this one at home. We have here Waly Sall, who was signed for $315. I know what you're thinking, Jack. He's 78 rated, he's 26 and he's left mid. Well, there is a bit of a catch with this guy. His alternative positions include centre forward, and as a centre forward he's actually rated 85 with his overall. He is a player who has crazy pace, crazy dribbling, some nice shooting. Maybe wish his dribbling was a little bit better, but if we look at his pass progression, he was actually on a +4 for last year, which is obviously a really, really impressive return. And the thing to note is, in terms of last season's progression, the bulk of that actually came from his passing going up a +8. Yes, sadly, some of his big kind of strengths to his game, like his shooting and pace, have plateaued a little bit. His defending, in fact, did go up a little bit for the season just gone, which has helped his overall go up. Was in tier jail for a short while, but obviously now he's 78 rated. I'm going to hope that he can progress with his passing. I'd like to think that the other stuff can improve as well, but I'm not necessarily expecting it. But it does mean that for the first time in, well, my first kind of few seasons playing MFL, I'm going to be playing a centre forward with my main team. Now, in terms of these weekly agency overview videos, I don't really necessarily want to reveal too much about my tactics, but obviously there's not that many formations that are going to be using a centre forward. Waly Sall, for me, is going to be playing in a 4-3-3 false 9. I've seen a lot of discourse online about the fact that one centre defensive mid doesn't look that good right now in the match engine. I have got something for Semenyov here, which I think is kind of getting the best out of him, but there's another caveat with this team, and that is the fact that I'm desperate to use wingers this year, because because we've got Leduc, who plays at right wing, who is absolutely superb, especially as a goal-scoring winger, which suits this system really, really nicely. And another player who I'm particularly excited about is Valdecir Alcanho. The Brazilian is, well, 26 years old, 96 pace, 80 rated. But if we look at his overall progression, and I don't want to look at his defending here, I want to look at this. He is a player who's been growing and growing year on year. Last year, he was playing for a team that I had in Iron. When the Soul team became available in Bronze, I did decide to sell up the Iron team and just move, over the Iron assets to the newly kind of acquired Bronze team. But Alcanho here is one player that I decided I really wanted to make the most of. He was really impressive last season. Obviously, with this kind of progression history, I'm going to hope that he can crack on and continue. And I'd be lying if I was to say I wasn't really pinning a lot of my hopes for this year on both Alcanho and Waly Sall looking to progress. Now, obviously, they're both 26. The question is, do they have much room for progression left? Both of them got a +4 last year. I'm really hoping they're going to keep things going this season. I think for me, Alcanho and Waly Sall are kind of the two players that I'm keeping the closest eye out for this year. Like I said, the Tokyo 2 team is kind of my main team. Eastern Crown FC here. That should be MFC. There is an M missing. I will fix that. It's there on the beautiful badge. But this is a team that was relegated last year from Silver that I picked up. I'm going to be honest, it was an overpay, but I wanted a team in the capital city of South Korea. This one became available, and I just, felt like it was an opportunity to jump upon. Now, in terms of this squad, it is significantly weaker than the Tokyo team in terms of both the player overalls, but also just a little bit of the depth. There's not as much positional kind of versatility across the team, and that's something that I really value when I play MFL. I like to rotate my team around. I like to have lots of options out there for shapes that we can play. The reality is that with this team, it is mostly going to be a 4-3-3. I feel like in general, kind of a front three and a flat midfield three, it's actually a pretty good basis for a formation this year. And when it comes to this team, it's got enough depth and coverage to, I suppose, rotate reasonably well. The only issue for this team is that in terms of its actual strength versus teams in its division, which is Bronze League 1, it's actually a team predicted to finish second bottom, which is a unique situation to find myself in, because going into MFL, I definitely was guilty of having reasonably stacked teams in Spark, in Ice last year, where I got a number of teams promoted, but I kind of always wanted to have teams that I built up from nothing. This is going to be one of the first teams that I manage in MFL where I'm going to be the underdog for more than half the games in a year. So my main aim this year is to just try and keep them up. Given the outlay that I paid to pick up this team, obviously we want to keep them up. If they were to go down, it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world. I'm certainly conscious of the fact that my agency is spread thin with 2 bronze teams. Speaking of which, we've not really talked about my agency yet in terms of player personnel. There's 2 players that stand out here, aren't there, on the top players? 2 players that I actually packed. The first here is Dennis Raoult. The price that I've got him listed for is basically my too good to refuse price that I don't necessarily suspect will be triggered by anyone. But this guy is a 90 rated 25-year-old goalie. He is out on loan for this year, going to be playing in Platinum. Last year he was playing in, Gold with the Buenos Aires BFC team. Sticking with that team. Hopefully he's going to continue. Worth noting, we did get him halfway through season number 5, so he's only got 1.5 seasons under his belt, yet to get the +1 that he is obviously guaranteed to have. Hopefully that's going to happen this year and he can get us a decent little return. And the other player I've got who's a legendary tier player is Gamming Eom. This guy, another player that I actually packed. So I got very, very lucky with some of my early packs when I first started playing MFL. To be honest, this was one of the first truly huge players I got. Obviously not got the best pace or shooting, but an amazing centre defensive mid. It's a real shame that he couldn't play centre back as well, because he'd be crazy there. He's on loan playing in Gold this year, where I am getting a 7% rev share. There was part of me that really did just consider sticking him in my bronze team, which in the end I decided would be a foolish idea. But you know what? If I now fail to get promoted with Tokyo by a tiny margin, it might be because I decided not to add this guy to the team, but it would have been, I think, a foolish errand. He got 15 games last year playing for BFC Buenos Aires with Raoult, the French goalie. This year he's playing for Montevideo Meta. Obviously, I'm going to hope that he gets plenty of game time here. He will get plenty of game time at this team in Gold. They've got a decent little squad. Not entirely sure where I expect them to finish, but for me, a 7% rev share is really nice, and hopefully he is going to kick on. The squad that he finds himself within has a really nice healthy average rating for the top 16 players, so should be getting close to 100% kind of training XP for him. Now, in terms of my agency across the board, you'll note here I've got 287 players right now. Granted, there's a lot of players right at the bottom of this list that don't really serve a purpose necessarily. A load of free agents that I don't know what to do with. I've got them set on auto bids, but it turns out there is not a demand for 50 rated 25-year-olds. Who would have thought? And you'll note that whilst there are a handful of players just out on loan at various silver and bronze teams, the bulk of the players I actually have at my own clubs. I am someone who really enjoys the management aspect of this game and having teams playing loads of matches, which I suppose is a nice segue to talk about my free teams in stone. Now, Beijing Thunder, Shebas and Orchid 65, they were all teams that I set up in Spark 2 years ago. All three of them got back-to-back promotions. Last year, Orchid got promoted as champions. Beijing Thunder and Shebas went up via the playoffs. Now, in terms of Beijing Thunder, this is the team that I was most keen to try and get promoted this year. They do have a fairly stacked team for Stone, although I feel like if you look at Stone divisions in MFL right now, there's a lot of very, very good teams out there. I believe the pre-season projection for them is second place. There's a couple of spaces left in the team, so if I decide after a handful of games that I've not stacked them enough, or at least I don't feel confident we are going to be challenging for promotions, I will look to amend that. Of course, you may be aware, but Chinese teams were only added into MFL 2 years ago, so Stone is the theoretical highest division that these licenses could have got to. I want to keep that going and hopefully push them towards Iron. Looking at their team here, I've got Ekholm, who for a long time was just my main goalie in my Tokyo team, but over the last couple of kind of drops, picked up a number of goalies, and this guy at 29 years old, I'm not overly fussed about if he drops a little bit development rate. I feel like goalies in MFL are just obviously super important, can be match winners. Elsewhere, there's players like Duarte, who's a really pacey left winger, or rather left midfielder, who has some okay defending as well, and similarly, we've got Saunders, who's a solid little right-sided midfielder. Obviously, I hate the fact that right mid and left mid kind of have defence come into the judging of overall, but within the system that we play, actually, the defending isn't the be-all or end-all, because this year I am going to be playing a narrow 4-2-3-1 with this team. Like I said, it is a stacked team. In terms of striking options, we have Yasuhiro Kawai, who is a Japanese striker at 21. Probably could have got him a slightly better loan move, but to be honest, I'm hoping he is going to fire us to glory. And another man who's one of my favourite players in the agency, and I almost feel bad that at least to start the year he's not nailed on to start, is this guy here, Kostin Dinka, 22 years old, striker, well, technically right mid, 64 overall. We play him as a striker. As a striker, he is out of position at a plus 11. Yeah, he is a 75 rated striker with a 64 overall. Right now, he is in tier jail, and he has been there for the second half of last year. We're going to hope that he breaks out of limited tier jail, gets into the kind of common range, and from there, I do see just, development in the attributes here that actually matter for strikers. A bit of pace, bit of dribbling wouldn't go amiss. His recent development, I'll be honest, definitely was more leaning towards his right midfielder primary position. But in terms of goal scoring, you can see over 2 years for me, he's got 48 goals. So he's a pretty good plan B striker, and if we do end up playing two strikers at some point with Beijing Thunder, he's obviously a player we'll pivot to. I've not got as many backup tactics as I'd like at this point in the year. I am the kind of person who likes to test the engine a lot, and once the season starts and I kind of see what systems are working and aren't working for me in a more competitive setting, some of these other pre-select slots will get filled up. But like I mentioned, one thing I like to have with my teams is that tactical versatility, to be able to play a load of different shapes. And this team has definitely got that. Now, I'm not going to run through the rest of the teams in my agency, because all you really need to know is that Shebas and Orchid 65 are looking to maintain their stone status. I want them to be the pipeline to my three capital city teams. Elsewhere, we do have Jade Circuit Shanghai and Tampines Tide Kings. They are teams that were promoted from Spark last year that are probably going to end up consolidating. Of the two, I think Tide Kings maybe have the best chance at a promotion from Ice. I mean, they are, by all accounts, a decent little Ice team, but I'm not kind of nailing my happiness on if this team is successful or not. It's a team that actually has a very filled out squad. To be honest, I've not really been able to do enough testing with this squad and players, but one thing that I have got going in my favour is we can play a wide variety of shapes. No right wing back is maybe a little bit of a shame. I guess Freitas could fill in there if I did want to try it out, but a load of centre backs to try a free at the back if needed. We've got wingers who can find the left and right hand side, some left and right mid coverage. To start the year, as you can observe though, we are looking at a 4-3-3 with them. And they'll be playing in the Ice League 108. So I feel like really Tampines Tide Kings, Beijing and Tokyo are my three teams to keep an eye on this year as the teams I'd love to do well. Now in terms of my hopes for this season, I'd like to get at least one team promoted. Over the last few years I've become accustomed to getting teams promoted, but as I already alluded to, I'm certainly guilty of having teams that were at the upper end of the divisions they were playing in, especially the first few years in Spark and Ice, the teams I got promoted from. I'm not going to pretend it was some super amazing achievement. It wasn't, but in reality, a lot of them were new licenses in new countries that I wanted to get up the pyramid. And on top of that, I do feel like when you have a slightly more stacked team, a team where there's those expectations on you to succeed, it becomes significantly more easy to underperform than it does to kind of overperform or match the expectations you have if you're the favourites to win the league. And especially for my Tokyo team, we were one game away from promotion last year. I am very, very conscious of the fact the Bronze League that I play in has some very, very experienced managers who have teams further up the pyramid. And it's going to be a difficult league to get out of this year. Obviously, last year we finished third, probably should have finished second in retrospect. Our first game of the season is against Brno Vikings. They are actually relegated from silver, so that's not the easiest of first games to have. Admittedly, I have had a look through their team. On paper, we do have the stronger side. And when you look at the Tokyo team, there's actually a load of players in that 84 tier jail. And in fact, across my entire agency, we've got lots and lots of players at this 74 tier jail as well. I'd be lying if I was to say that as I sit here on the eve of the new season, I'm not kind of staring at the interactive calendar here thinking, oh, I can't wait for training to kick in kind of 8 or 9 hours and hopefully see some early +1s. If I don't see early progression, I am going to be sad. Now, just looking at my agency, in terms of all-time progression, I mentioned Waly Sall and Alcanio. They are the two men that I'm really looking at thinking, I want to see how far I can push them. They've had some crazy development. I love the pace that they've got. I think pace in this game is just super important. Elsewhere, Dinker, who we've already talked about, is on a +10. Hopefully he's going to keep things going. Tommy Doyle here is a fun one because he is a 72 rated centre forward who, if we just look at his kind of progression history here, has really cracked on and improved over the years. Last year he was on a +4. This year just gone he was on a +3. Last year he was missing out on a little bit of match XP by playing in a fairly stacked Jade Circuit Shanghai team playing down in Spark. He got the golden boot down in that division. This year he's going to be playing in my Chiba Shibas team, which is one of my couple of stone teams. You can see here I am giving Doyle the captain's armband and I'm going to hope he can improve. And if in fact we just sort by age of this squad, lots of players here that I would like to give some game time to. And similarly, if we do just look at Orchid 64 for a moment, another team playing in stone with a lot of players with potential. And whilst the aim for these teams longer term, obviously it'd be lovely to sit here and say I want them all to get promoted and I want them all to be great. Actually, I think what would be in my primary interest this year is to see a lot of these younger players that you can see are getting starting minutes really improve. Matt Dunn last year got a +2. He's hit tier jail, which is a bit of a shame. But at 19 years old, to see that early +2 was really nice in his first ever season. We're going to hope he can continue to crack on. Hopefully by the end of the year, he's a rare. You can also see I've been doing various little bits of tactical testing. I'll be honest, I am still changing things on the regular. I really should have my tactics nailed in, considering the season starts in less than 24 hours. Obviously, the advantage of me having my two teams in bronze is that I can play them against each other, but predictably, that Tokyo team is just significantly stronger. As for Eastern Crown, someone's playing them in a game right now. We're playing against a team with a 4-4-2. We got absolutely stuffed, although if I do just look at the team head-to-heads, the midfield average rating is 77. I am concerned could be a problem this year. All I'm saying is if you're watching at home and you've got a bronze centre mid and you're watching this obviously while the window's still open, hit me up. If they're above kind of 79 rated, they might be very, very useful for this team. Now, because absolutely everyone loves development and the dev centre, let's be honest, development's the funnest part of this game, watching players improve. Here's a little overview of the players that I've got in the dev centre. You'll note here a couple of the players have some pretty nice progression over the years, and I'm going to hope that can continue for them. Of all the players in the development centre, Gabriele Beckman is the one I like the most, which seems mental, because he can only play as a centre attacking mid. He's 24 years old. You might be thinking, Jack, why would you give a monkeys about this guy? Well, look at this. Yeah, last year, playing, I'll be honest, fairly minimal minutes, he went up a +7. He's in the dev centre for 4 seasons. He will not come out until he's 27, 28. And I'm kind of excited to see what he can do. It's his first season in the dev centre this year. So if you want to leave a comment, give me a prediction. We'll come back to the comments on this video at the end of the season. What is Gabriele Beckman's overall going to be? And I'll tell you what, if it only goes up to 54, I'm really going to regret the fact I've stuck him in the dev centre for the next four seasons, isn't it? Yeah, as I said, minimum minutes really over the last 2 years. That's why his development last year was so good. Dev centre. I'm hoping it's going to send him to the moon. Anyway, I'll be completely honest with you guys. This is the first ever MFL content I've made, and I felt like for this first one, it'd be nice to just give you kind of a little overview of a handful of players, where my teams are at going into this season number 7. And, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like I said, I'm probably going to do kind of weekly recaps. Maybe they'll be slightly less frequent during the actual season. But mid-season, when the window reopens, I'm sure we'll reflect back on how things are going so far, discuss player progression, maybe talk about stuff going on in the wider MFL universe, if that is stuff that would interest you. But anyway, we'll leave things there for today. Let me know what your hopes and expectations are for the season. How many teams are too many? That's my question for you. At what point do you need an intervention? Should I be having one now? Let me know down below. Besides that, good luck in Season 7. I'll see you for an agency update very, very soon. And besides that, it's me, Jack, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.